I've talked before about taking action to change your life and how conventional wisdom has it that you must believe with absolute certainty. And I'm talking about believing beyond a shadow of a doubt that the steps that you're going to take are actually going to get you to the place where you're looking to go. Otherwise, they say you don't take action. They talk about a feedback loop that supports this concept, which is you start with belief, with absolute certainty. And that type of belief leads to an upgrade in your potential or your power to act. And having that kind of power, you take action. And when you take that kind of action, the results you're going to get, the positive at least, are going to help support even further belief. They're going to help energize even more faith in what you're doing. And of course, that'll lead into a further upgrade of your potential, which will lead to more action, better results, and so on and so forth. Now that's great, because if you're lucky enough to be born with belief, if you have that intrinsic faith from the outset, then you're blessed. You're truly blessed, because there is no stronger elixir for you to get what it is you want out of life than to have that kind of belief. But I also talk about the millions and millions and millions out there that aren't really sure things are going to work out. And what happens with them? You know, what they lack in belief, these people make up in determination. And they take action regardless. You know, some people actually find courage in their actions as opposed to the courage of their convictions. And this feedback loop, the one that I really talk about a lot, begins with action. You begin with action because when you take action regardless, you're going to get results. The positive which will help you then find that faith, find that belief you're looking for, and of course, that will help give you an upgrade in your capacity or your potential to take action, and that feedback loop will begin again. So, you don't need to be sure. You don't need to be so positive beyond a shadow of a doubt that things are going to work out for you to go out there and take what it is you want from life. In fact, some of the biggest success stories, some of today's biggest superstars, lack belief when they set out, but they went for it anyway. I'll give you some examples. I did some research, and listen to this. Roger Federer. Roger Federer said, "I'm very proud of all the records I've achieved. When I was a kid, I never thought I'd be a success. I never thought I'd be so successful." Unbelievable. Rory McIlroy once said, "To be honest, I never thought I'd be contending in the majors. But after a few top 3 placings, you have to be thinking to yourself that winning one is a possibility." Taylor Swift. How about this? Taylor Swift was once asked what she would have thought had someone told her 10 years ago that she would be famous by the age of 18. She said, "I thought I was going to do what my parents did. They went to college, they went into business. And although I loved music, I never imagined that I would actually get to do that for a living." She said, "I never imagined," listen to this, she said, "I never imagined that the unattainable thing that I dreamed about could happen to me." One more, listen to this one. Beyonce Knowles has said, "I never imagined the extent of what I've achieved. I never imagined the awards, the success, the movies. I still can't believe it." I tell you, I got chills, because if we had to be sure things would work out before we moved forward, hell, we never do anything, okay? You know what it is? For those that lack belief, for those like, there is another way, there's an alternative path, okay? And that path is laced with something just as powerful. It's called hope. Hope and desire. And if you have hope and desire from the outset, you'll take that action. And you know what? You'll find your faith. Hope and desire equals faith. And listen, even with that kind of hope, and even if you're lucky enough to have belief, the unfortunate thing is many don't get the results that they're looking for. Many don't get what it is they're after. people still don't have the success, even when they have the belief, even when they have hope, a kind of hope that can't be dampened, they still don't get what they're looking for. Why is that? And it has to do with, in that feedback loop where we talk about taking action and getting results, you know what? Sometimes those results aren't so great. In fact, negative results have the power to sap our energy, to frustrate us. When that happens, and this is where it all goes wrong for most people, because look, you have the great belief, you go out there, you take action, the results aren't so great, or you do it anyway, you take action and you don't get great results. A lot of people get derailed when they don't get the results that they want, and then instead of getting that upgrade in their belief, they end up disbelieving and losing their faith, or never finding the faith it was that they were looking for. So you need some kind of alternative energy source, some reservoir of energy that you can continue to tap to power up your potential. You got to have something, a reason. You got to have a reason why you're taking action in the first place. You got to have a cause that is strong enough, that's so inspiring that you're going to push on anyway in the face of failures and mistakes. You got to have what I call something worth fighting for. That is the secret. You have to start from a place not of belief, not even of hope and desire. You have to have something worth fighting for. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Some of you may know the story of Augusto and Michela Adone and their son Lorenzo. Augusto and Michela, their son, was diagnosed when he was only 6 years old with a neurological disorder known as ALD. Now, ALD is the buildup of very long-chain fatty acids in the brain. And these very long-chain fatty acids accumulate, and eventually they attack the myelin. And that's the sheath that coats your nerve fibers. What they were told was that their son would lose his posture, his gait, he would lose his mobility, he would lose his sight, his speech, he would eventually become a vegetable, and that he would die. They gave him a year to live. It was a death sentence. But Augusto and Michela, they were very different than most parents that get this kind of diagnosis. They said, you know what, this might happen. Yeah, this might happen to some children, but it's not going to happen to our son. And you know what? They didn't have medical degrees. They weren't doctors. They weren't scientists. They had never done any research, but they set out and were determined to find a treatment for their son. And at every corner, at every turn, at every road they traveled down on this journey, they were scoffed at, they were criticized, they were told it couldn't be done. In fact, when they first delved into the research and they were looking for a treatment or some type of cure, they were told, don't bother. You won't understand the medical papers. You don't have a background in that area, but they pushed on anyway. And after years and years, they came upon an obscure study that showed some hope, using a certain type of fatty acid that could actually counter the fatty acids that were building up in their son's brain. But what were they told when they looked into it and they tried to work with it? They were told it would only work in test tubes. It wouldn't work in people. But they carried on anyway, and they researched and they researched and they researched. And finally, Augusto, he thought, what if we made some modifications to a certain type of oil that could actually neutralize, based on that study, the very long-chain fatty acids that were attacking their son's nervous system. And you know what? They set out to make a certain type of oil. But, of course, they called every drug company and every chemical company, hundreds and hundreds, and were turned down at every pass. Everyone said to them, you're not doctors, you're not scientists, we're not going to waste our time distilling some type of formula based on your research. But they persisted. They were relentless, and eventually they came upon a chemist at a company who agreed to take on the challenge. The treatment that they synthesized became known as Lorenzo's oil, and it helped their son live another 20 years. Now, if a mother and father with no background in medicine, that weren't doctors, that weren't scientists, if they could go out and find a treatment for an incurable illness, what could you do if you had something worth fighting for? Look, it's not so much what it is you want. It's why you want it. And I got to tell you something. If you can find the why you want something, and it's not about what others believe is a noble reason why, and it's not about what others think is the right type of reason why. It just has to be your reason why. Some people want to win a championship, some people want to be famous, some people want to be wealthy, some people just want to smell a flower that only grows on the other side of the world. It doesn't matter what it is you want. It just matters whether or not that something is inspiring enough for you to fight for. Guys, dig deep. Dig deep. Search your heart. Summon your soul. Find that reason why. And we all have one. We all have one. Find your reason why. And grab it by the scruff of the neck. And go out there and take what it is you want from this life.